Once again, I'm Daniel. We're looking at the rest of the Evergreen previews. This is going to be the Survivor set. Miguel de la Cruz. He is the rancher, and he's got a pretty cool investigator ability, I think, even though it seems really simple. Taking additional action during your turn to only can be used to play an event seems quite, I don't know. I mean, it's strong, right? You can do kind of anything with this guy, even though this deck and the Elder Sign effect suggests he's the trapper, going to be doing lots of things with cards that attach to locations. Maybe in the future you don't have to do that. You can play any event. Emergency cash. I mean, we'll see a lot of cool events in this deck, and that's pretty much all we need to say about him, other than the fact that I should say that he's got 8/8 soak and a 3/2/3/4 stat line up there, which is identical to Stella Clark, the old 0 to 5 survivor investigator that we had in the starter deck. So I guess that stat line works for survivor, basically. All right. Let's check out the signature and weakness. Signature is Miguel's knapsack 2-cost asset, and when it is in play, it's going to take up a body slot. If it's not in play, it's 2 wild icons, but I don't think you want to do that unless it's the very end of the scenario. It does have 2 health soak. When you play an event, exhaust Miguel's knapsack. Either play that event at a connecting location as if you were at that location, or draw a card. I think that's very strong. The draw 1 card part is always relevant, and the as if you're at a connecting location, I mean, we saw how good Luke was. Doesn't mean that you're engaged with the enemies there, which is probably for the best, but maybe makes it a bit more confusing as to what the game state actually is. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about the as if stuff. There is a section of the grimoire that talks about what as if means. You don't actually put anything into your threat area. There's lots of stuff there that's worth talking about at some later stage. But I think for most people, it works kind of how you think it should for like 90% of interactions. And then the rest of it is the stuff we spend most of our time talking about. Anyway, it's good. This idea that you can drop events at other locations that you're not means you're saving yourself the action to move there, move back. You can do quite a few things, I think, to extend your reach, as it will. Good card. It'll be interesting to see how he plays, given that this doesn't necessarily start in your opening hand, right? So, do you play differently with this in play versus not? There's a lot of signature cards that are that way, where they're so good and so game defining that you just kind of rush to find them. We don't have any ways of really doing that in Chapter 2 quite yet, but it's a good card. Feline Hybrid, taking some cues from the Feast of Hemlock Vale. This is a really gnarly looking animal. Has elusive, has hunter, so those two things go in combination in a very interesting way. 3/2/3, but is immune to player card effects. And effectively, that means that you can just do basic actions to damage or to evade. So, with 2 health, that means you can throw something like a vicious blow, which adds additional damage to the standard damage, or you're gonna need to punch this guy twice. Maybe someone else can help, but it's really shuts down the whole trap lifestyle that he's got going on. But maybe that's the point, right? You can't just go all in on the one thing. Problem is everything else, a weapon, all that, those are player cards. Now, we're going to see an ally later that might help with this, but elusive is interesting, right? Not exactly when that happens. If you fail, I guess he doesn't have. No, it doesn't even matter if you have retaliate or anything, but like if you fail, he's going away anyway. So elusive is one of those tricky keywords where I think I have to like look up the actual rules every time, because there's a lot of interesting things that can happen. Anyway, it's an evergreen keyword, though. It's in the core set. There is a scenario number 2 that has a lot of elusive going on in it. I played that one recently and have a lot of thoughts, but it's here to stay. As you might expect, there's a lot of event synergies in the deck. I'm going to start with them. Kind of unusual for me to do that in my discussion of the entire deck. And what I mean by this is that usually I show the events first, and then we have other things that are built around them. But I think it's worth talking about how same old thing allows you to spend supplies on it. So it's like an emergency cash. You spend 2, you get 5 back to pay for events. And that means that the events that we're going to see all seem like they could be expensive, but you're supposed to play something like this card to make it a little bit easier to play. I don't think the card is that cool. Like, I talked about this before. The last version of this that we saw, Schaffner's catalog, was an item that itself could pay for another copy of Schaffner's, and also there were lots of ways of recurring the card itself that had to do with items and assets in general. This being an asset that plays for events means that that kind of synergy is, harder to see, hard to make happen. But if we can recur this thing, then at least it's something. But emergency cash itself gives you the same value. The upside for this is just if you're going to ever use it for other investigators, it's better. And maybe to hide your resources for something like paranoia, the weakness that makes you lose all the resources, or other enemies that might steal your resources or make you lose them, and maybe a future Dark Horse type investigator seems kind of cool. Now, we do have an upgrade Hunter's Instinct. We had a level 0 in the core set. It's basically the same. I think there's an extra wild here on the icons. 3 supplies. After you engage an enemy, spend a supply, exhaust it, add a level 0 to 2 event in your discard pile to your hand. The level 0 one just targeted level 0 cards. Level 0 events, of course. Now, it's kind of an awkward upgrade, right? You need to spend XP on all the other events before or at the same time you upgrade this. So it's never your first upgrade, which is fine. Like, maybe that sounds silly, but it feels a bit more like a luxury, or it scales with your deck, right? Like, everything else needs to get upgraded such that the level 0 one doesn't really do anything anymore. And whether or not we have that much XP is remains to be seen. That said, there is a core set event, Scrape By, which is level 1. And maybe if you have 2 of those and you have a couple more XP to spend, you say, well, I could upgrade a Hunter's Instinct. And then you get to get that really good card back that lets you just pass skill tests you have no business passing. So maybe that's okay. I just kind of find it fascinating that this little pattern here of you have to upgrade, you have to have something worth recurring with the upgrade to make the level 0 one not good enough anymore. So the events. There's a lot of tactics, there's a lot of traps, there's stuff that's like that, some tricks I think as well that we'll be looking at. So remember, Miguel has both an extra action to play these and ways of playing them in other locations than his own, and potentially more ways of paying for them. Just sort of keep that in the back of your mind that they might look tough to include in other investigators sometimes, and that's worth thinking about. But Miguel gets to just always think about playing them as long as you can afford them and there's a valid target. Okay, guerrilla tactics. Level 0 and level 2, they both cost 1, and they have a fight or evade. You get +1 skill value for the test, and you may target an enemy at a connecting location as if you are engaged with that enemy. My understanding here is that for the Whippoorwills, which are in the core set, the new as if rules indicate that you do not actually, the as if part does not actually mean that the Whippoorwills that give you -1 to all your stats are going to affect your skill value. So if you want to target an aloof enemy at a connecting location, you will not suffer the consequences of actually being at that location. The as if is just for the purposes of this card, which is a bit confusing, and that is a change from the chapter 1 stuff for now, but that's my understanding. So the level 0 is very good for Whippoorwills. +1 skill value, yeah, it's worth it for your 1 resource in a card. Now, if you're not doing the connecting location part at all, then I don't think you can target an aloof enemy at your own location. That's my read here. Probably that's, I don't know if it's the attention, but it's only that you may target an enemy at a connecting location as if you're engaged with that enemy. Level 2 one. extra skill value, extra icon, and if you succeed, you get to deal a damage to the enemy, whether or not you're fighting or evading. So if you're fighting, you get to do 1 damage and then 1 damage. If you're evading, you do the evade and 1 damage. And so for the 1 health enemies, clearly this is not that good. So it's a bit more of a, what am I doing with this? If you're trying to take down bigger enemies, and this can hit elites, right? I think this is quite good. If you're just using this for tech for the zealots, they're cultists, and the whippoorwills, then you don't need to upgrade it. I think it's good as is. Let's keep going. There's a lot of these. Okay, we've got a cycle of 3 different traps that attach to your location. And by the way, we'll be seeing limit 1 trap per location on all of these with maybe some different wording, but that's the basic idea. I believe they all cost you 2 resources. They're fast, attached to your location, or if you're Miguel with the knapsack, a connecting location. And then after an enemy enters the location, you get to exhaust the card to do an evade, fight, or on the next page, you'll see an investigate using the usual skill or agility. You get +1 skill value for the test, and then if you succeed, you get the option of discarding the card to do something extra special. You can always trigger these abilities from any location. So for decoy trap, this one is evasion, and the discard is to move to the location where this trap actually is. That's okay. The movement is always a little goofy in this game. I mean, you'll find use for it. Lion Weight, this one is a fight, and you get to discard it for the extra damage. And then glassing, we'll see, is for the extra clue. Makes a lot of sense. One thing that's kind of important to say is that these are always fast, and then the trigger is essentially fast too. So you're spending 2 resources for an action back at some point. You're just a little bit less able to control this. And you don't have to discard this, right? You can leave it there for a few more rounds, maybe get some other enemies to come in from the next round. So the question is always, excuse me, the question is always going to be, how much can I control this? How much can I make enemies enter particular locations? Oh, now I just see it's funny. The decoy trap says enters attached location. The other one says enters this location. The same. Okay. I think more than people expect. I think you can make this work pretty well. Is it worth your 2 resources? Again, you get the action back anyway. I mean, there's no action here, but it's 2 resources for an action, essentially. Yes. Especially in maps that are a bit claustrophobic, where you need to go around again. When you have elusive, I think you can do this. And I think the value is pretty good for lion weight. It's okay for decoy trap. I think if there's a big enough enemy that you need to evade and then turn off their elusive or something, not bad, but I'd rather be there in that location. I don't know. Remote evades are pretty cool because then they don't hunt into your location. Not bad. And then glassing's the last one here. This is the investigate. Like I said, you can discard it to discover additional clue. I think there's a whoopsie on the wording here. It probably should say investigate the attached location. I assume that's what it means. Investigating your location and not the attached location seems wrong, but that's, the wording here isn't great. I think this one's quite good too. Notice that all 3 of them have really good icons in case you can't do this. It's like just not possible in that scenario. So always going to be relevant. I think if you're Miguel, you probably just take 2 copies of all of them. But man, oh man, you're going to fill up on the deck slots pretty quickly if you're not using, if you are combining the Miguel and the core set stuff. Because you're like, well, I want my level 0 hunters in the stick. Well, what do you cut? This is going to be a theme throughout this video, I think. All right. Our only level 2 one of these, so none of those upgrade, which actually surprised me. I thought they would all get some kind of an upgrade when we saw guerrilla tactics, and then we got an upgrade for that one. Instead, we got an upgrade that is a bit different. It's rope trap. Not as good icons. Still cost 2. This one's not fast either, but you eliminate the test part. So you attach it to your location, limit 1 trap attached. Again, all of these are like just one card attached, no matter what the card is. When an enemy enters the attached location, exhaust rope trap. Deal 1 damage to that enemy. Reveal a random token from the chaos bag. If you get a skull or autofill, it's gone. Again, this can hit elites, aloof enemies. If you're able to like push enemies back and forth, and it's mostly right now, as far as I can tell, with elusive, then you can do a bunch of damage. If you're lucky enough, it does more than one. Maybe that feels pretty bad to pay for, and it immediately discards. But it is 1 Tesla's damage. So, kind of wish it cost 1 XP rather than 2. I'm not sure how much you can control this. It feels like the lion weight, that's the fight one we saw last slide, is gonna do 2 damage, right? This is Tesla's. I mean, theoretically, this stays forever and keeps dealing single points of damage. I don't know. I'm kind of curious how this one goes. It reads kind of fun, but I don't know if I like the variants that much. If you want to really do some damage, though, you can spend 3 XP and 3 resources for a makeshift bomb. Attach to your location, limit 1 trap attached. Reaction. So again, you don't have to do this. It's always your choice. After an enemy or investigator enters the attached location, discard makeshift bomb. Deal 3 damage to each enemy and investigator at that location. Art is super cool here. That's exactly what's going on. Maybe there's an investigator in that clearing over there who got torched. Anyway, I really missed Dynamite Blast from Chapter 1, and here it is. Costs you a bit more, and it's harder to trigger. And by that, I really mean that Dynamite was just, all right, let's go. You spent the money, you paid the action, or if it was level 3, it was fast. This you need to, well, I mean, it's a trap. It's something that you need to maneuver the board state to take advantage of. Now, something needs to enter the location, right? So I should also mention that enemies spawning at a location count as entering. Okay. I mean, you can always go into the location yourself and then just trigger it if the enemies are already there. It's just like collecting everyone in one spot might be difficult. I think it's fun though. I trust that the playtesting made this work. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like fun. Okay. It does cost an action. I kind of wish it were fast to begin with. Stock Prey is a level 0 tactic. This one helps you get enemies out. So, just what I was talking about, if you spawn an enemy by drawing it from the encounter deck, it can trigger any of these traps. So, search top 9 for an enemy, draw it, shuffle the encounter deck, then draw a card, discover a clue, and if the enemy is not at your location, you may move once towards it. Very cool art again. I like this. Notably in chapter 2, the core set, at least the core set cards, the ones that are the shared encounter cards across the rest of the products that'll be coming out soon, none of those enemies spawn at empty locations. They all spawn right at your location with you. So this last piece of text here doesn't do anything right now, but the card and clue seem good. All right, remember when we talked about Paint the Town Red and how that card just doesn't do enough? Drawing a card, getting a clue, and setting off your traps, probably worth it. Again, you want those things to go off. You don't want to just randomly draw enemies for no reason. Like it, you don't want to get rid of the traps just because you drew an enemy that you didn't have to draw in the first place. But getting the card and clue is probably good. I don't think this is an amazing card. Again, they seem to have gotten rid of the whole idea that you can spawn something from the encounter deck engaged with you. But at least with Miguel, I think these other cards work okay. Remember that aloof ones are never a target for a regular old fight. So spawning an aloof enemy, it's not going to help you with the evade or the fight ones, but it'll help you with glassing. Anyway, yeah, curious to see how this one works. I think it's okay. I feel like we could do better in maybe it's for lower player counts. They just need to have something. But really, the intention is that you have an extra action. You want the clue testlessly. The card draw is fine, and the enemies won't bother you that much. Okay. So those are all the traps. It's actually not that many, right? It's really just the three main ones, and then the bomb and the rope trap. So you probably just run them all, I guess. Now, if you want to get them back after you discard them, you have Respite, which is a 2 XP, 1 resource cost event. Play only if there are no enemies at your location, so you've gotten rid of your enemies. Theoretically, you could play this with your knapsack, pretty sure, as if you're at a connecting location with no enemies. Anyway, choose up to 3 level 0 event and or skill cards in your discard pile and shuffle them into your deck, draw a card. That's fine. So it's a neat bit of recursion for Miguel. I think someone like Izzy doesn't need this because she can get the skill cards out anyway. The draw card is still always good. I think it's fine. It's not exciting. It's hard to say, like, what would you cut in the level 0 deck for this? But not having played Miguel at all, I'm very curious how often you say, gosh, I wish I got those events back. Now, you can wait a bit for your deck to run out, and then this gets a lot better because you're shuffling stuff back into your deck, and you're likely going to find, like, let's say there's only 10 cards left. Now it's 13 and they're better cards. Maybe you wait for your discard pile to be, pretty full. Or not. I'm not really sure. Okay. Hidden Shelter. We saw this one quite some time ago already. It's neat, I think, in 3 or 4 player. 1 cost event, attached to your location. When the round ends, each investigator location gets to draw a card, gain a resource, heal damage, or heal a horror. And it's backwards from all the other ones. You don't want enemies to enter here. If they do, this discards. This one asks the question, how many rounds am I willing to actually sit on one location? Sometimes it just happens, right? Could be the starting location, could be some location that you're just stuck in. For an extra action, I throw this down. If I'm anyone else like Daniela or Izzy, probably not, but maybe in 3 or 4 player. Problem with that, of course, is that you're more likely to draw an enemy. I'm curious how it goes as well. There's a lot of healing in this deck. We have a level 1 healing card, 2 cost, fast, play after a creature or monster enemy at your location is defeated. All this art that's very much like Hemlock Veil coded is just creepy, right? Yeah. Heal up to 3 damage from among investigators and or ally assets at your location. Very helpful. There are lots of allies that we've seen so far. We've seen some cool ones in the Tommy Muldoon deck that you could heal damage from. That seems really important. I don't even think I mind the creature or monster condition here. Most of the enemies are that. There's going to be a few cultists in the core set, but most of them are going to be creatures or monsters around. So I think it's okay. Is it worth your time compared to bandages? Probably, given that bandages has to be when you take the damage, like immediately. This gets to be you draw it later and you get to heal everyone up. So yeah, well, it kind of up to you to decide. This one has the event synergy, right? So you can have extra money to play it because of same old thing. Now there is for another version of bandages, which is kind of funny, extra rations. This one's a 2 cost asset for supplies. If there aren't any, discard it. Spend a supply, exhaust it, heal a damage from your investigator or an ally asset you control. A little bit less helpful, this one. I think I like bandages more, but it has the same thing we just talked about with field dressing, where you don't need to, you don't have to be You don't have to have it in play when you take the damage itself, like bandages does. So, mm, still the slotless, the same price. Maybe they don't need to print these sorts of things, but maybe they do. Maybe we need to have like 3 different healing things out there. That part actually is kind of mystery to me about it feels like a near print for bandages, and then we have bandages anyway. Speaking of healing, this card seems quite good. A level 2 asset that is not quite horror bandages, but seems quite strong. You're healing only from yourself, but you get a free trigger to spend a supply, exhaust, and heal 2. So this will heal you 6. You do have to take up the accessory slot, so that is not nothing. But it's probably worth your time. Yeah, that's a lot of horror healing. uh, it's interesting. If you compare this to like Cherished Keepsake from Chapter 1, which was 0 cost, level 0, and healed you essentially 2. I mean, it was 2 soak. It's a little different. But this is 3 of those. Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually pretty fair then. It's good. Uh, Problem with these sorts of cards is that people tend to view them in the recursion mode, where it was really easy to recur things in Chapter 1. Scavenging for 1, Yorick, right? That stuff doesn't exist, so these get a little bit less crazy. The amount of compression, like it's fast cards and playing other things fast that exists in Chapter 2, it's just a product of uh, the smaller card pool. We might get some of it someday, but I think by virtue of there being this enormous card pool that you could just pick out all the fast cards or things that made playing things fast, made some of the tempo just quite different. Okay, there's a few weapons in this deck. We haven't seen anything besides the events to deal damage, so now we're just moving on to something kind of different. The pocket knife, it potentially goes with it, right? So if you're using events to fight, then your hand slots can be full of more things to fight. Well, what if you need an extra damage out there to defeat an enemy? This is basically an unlimited +1 skill value, but if you use it to defeat an enemy, you get to exhaust Pocket Knife to gain a resource. Cost 2, you could be using agility, which is very attractive, I think, for. I mean, they're both Izzy and. No, Izzy's the same. She's 3 combat, 3 agility, but Miguel is 4. So he's attacking at 5. That's not bad. Yes, the more 1 health enemies, the more 3 health enemies there are, the better this is. So you use your trap to like do 2 damage, and then you go in there with the bucket knife and do the last one. Winchester Model 52. This is a bigger weapon that has 2 hand slots, costs you 3 resources, and for 2 ammo only, which is maybe a bit shocking, I think, for this. Spend 1 ammo to fight using combat, but you get +3. So now Miguel is at 6. That's a big difference. +1 damage to the attack. When you run out of ammo, you can go ahead and discard this as a separate action to fight, getting +3. If you succeed, automatically evade the targeted enemy. Okay, yeah, it's fine. I think I wish like this cost 2. It doesn't do that much damage. It does a total of potentially 5 with the automatic evasion. It's gonna go. It's gonna run you. Run you short of your damage, I think, pretty quickly. So why not pick up a longbow? This one actually costs 3 and is a level 3 card. Hey, it's our first level 3 card, right? No, the bomb was a level 3 card. There's very few cards in this deck that are above level 2. In fact, I think maybe it's just 3, maybe there's 4. And there's nothing that is level 4 or 5, which is something we talk about at the end. But is this worth it? Hey, it's the old ornate bow. And it's been reworked so that it has uses 1 arrow. You spend an arrow, fight using agility, you get +2, deal +2 for the attack. So you're doing 3 damage on your attacks here, ignoring the elusive keyword. That's pretty good. I haven't seen any aloof enemies that are more than 1 health yet, but I like the idea. Even if you're firing a bow into a whippoorwill, maybe it's worth it. Maybe. Now you can replenish 1 arrow, at a time by taking another action. So this is basically a 2 action, 3 damage attack, which is fine given that you're using a stat that you are hopefully building around. Yeah. Yeah, like there were some weird combos and maybe fun combos if they're of that persuasion to really want to use the cleaning kit for the ornate bow. But the designers probably said that is not intended here. We really just want to gate what's going on here by a special type of use. Uh, okay, that's the design. Can't complain with that. Some other items. We have an investigation tool. This is the old compass. The level 2 old compass came in the core set. You might remember it. Investigate using your intellect. -1 shroud for the investigation. If you fail, you may exhaust Old Compass to attempt the skill test again. The level 2 version gave this an extra -1 shroud for the attempt after the fail. So it was -2 instead of -1. This seems to do most of the job, right? 2 cost. Now, Miguel's at 2, right? He's only at 2 to begin with. So this is really just trying to get you in range of the look what I founds of the world, which is just look what I found. And that's okay. I think this is good and it'll be good in other investigators. It makes me pine for the days of Lantern where you also got the action to discard it to deal 1 damage. But for the purposes of doing investigations, this extra attempt is good. I think that's fine. Like I would play this. Problem is I just don't know who I'm playing it in right now. Without like in Legacy, again, another reason why Legacy was kind of busted is that you found allies, you found other cards in class to basically make any class do whatever. And we finally got a plus intellect level 0 ally. Right now, we just have Daniela, we just have Izzy, and then Miguel. They all have 2 intellect, and there's no way to boost that other than skill cards, which don't get you too far. So yes, this is all about look what I found, but it's gonna be tough to afford that. There is a loop though. There is the Hunter's Instinct loop. So I can see that someday this gets even better if we have even just a 3 or 4 intellect investigator. If you are failing, there's Rabbit's Foot. This is a reprint from the old core. Card is better in a small card pool because you say, I guess it's better for me to take a test and maybe pass rather than just draw a card because I'll draw the card anyway. I think in that light, Rabbit's Foot's quite good. Most people just in the full card pool in chapter 1 say, I'm not failing tests. Like, why would I put a card in here that mitigates failure, like softens the blow a bit, when I can just put a card in here that makes me actually pass the test? Fair point. We have 2 allies. We've got a hunting dog. He's a good boy. When an enemy enters play, this is a reaction, exhaust hunting dog, move once toward that enemy's location. 1/1 soak, so not much. Little tough to have an ally that just has 1/1. We saw this with the police dog in the Tommy deck where it's just not soak. It's just the ability. Yeah, like I like the idea here. I will say this is just a total aside. So, in the rules, in the grimoire, there's a new rule change that says you cannot spend actions outside of your turn. You gain all the actions at the beginning of your turn, and you lose any unspent actions at the end of your turn, which means that if an enemy enters play during the Mythos phase, and you want to use your hunting dog to move towards that enemy's location, and it causes you to enter a location that says something like, as additional cost to enter this location, spend an action. You can't. You do not have the actions yet during the Mythos phase, which is when the enemy enters play, which is when you can exhaust Hunting Dog. You don't have those until your turn begins. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the card is fine. It's just weird to have game design, rule design that nerfs Hunting Dog. And you might say, hey, when is there ever going to be a location that says spend additional action to enter this location or leave this location. Isn't that just an albino penguin? You haven't looked at the core set encounter cards yet. Once you do, you'll see that this could happen, maybe not often, but it can happen. Okay. We have one more ally who's also level 0 and seems pretty good. Daniel Jameson, 3 cost, and a stat boost, +1 agility. He's a seasoned hunter. After you fail an attack or evasion, exhaust Daniel Jameson. Attempt that skill test again with +1 skill value. Again, assumption this works pretty much like the old compass that we just saw, that you do your skill test and then after all the stuff happens, including retaliate, probably, then you attempt the skill test again. I know what it says on the card, but let's just pretend it says after the skill test ends, like live and learn. Okay, +1 skill value for the second attempt is really good. Now, in the future, this seems better if you want to fail, right? You're doing some sort of an oops type of thing. But I think just in general, the guy has a lot of soak, and the protection for failing a test is really good. The +1 skill value is nice. It's kind of like the old compass, level 2 especially. Very much like a mini live and learn, just for attacks or evasions. I think that's really neat. Should be fun to play this guy. I think that's a good design. I think it's interesting, makes some good decisions in gameplay. Like, how much do I want to commit to the tests on the first one? Maybe I'll just pass anyway. Maybe I'll just get this as a backup. It's good. Again, play him in something like Stella, where you get the extra boost back. Now we're cooking. But we don't have anything like that in this deck. Okay, we have a couple more cards here that are assets that don't have much else in common. A loner is a 2-cost asset, limit 1 per investigator, so just one of these in play, but you can have 2 in the deck. During your turn, exhaust loner, move to an empty connecting location. Ooh, level 0. What a fascinating card. So immediately you think about track shoes, safeguard, pathfinder, shortcut, that sort of stuff. And you wonder, like, how good is this? Those had different conditions. This one requires that the place you want to go to is empty. No enemies, no other investigators. Could be that it has something else like a treachery or your traps attached. That's fine. It's kind of like the let me go first card. You can be engaged with an enemy, by the way. You can move an enemy into one of your traps. That's kind of cool. I don't think this is going to trigger all the time. You need to engineer it a bit, right? If you're using this to say like track down an enemy that left because of elusive, ain't gonna work. But a lot of the time, it's going to work. It just really is I want to go first to move into that location. You can come follow. Reverse lone wolf. All right, level 3, level headed, starting. Sure. Expected. This one's a good card. I mean, you need to have the resource generation. You have to want to take those tests, which basically everyone's forced to do since they're scenario card tests. Man, again, I'm telling you, I've tried to build a deck with a lot of these cards. It's so hard to decide what to cut. Yeah. So there's some skills. And for Izzy, you think about these skills because she can recur them from the discard pile. For Daniela, the ones that are level 0 to 2, which is almost all of them, might be relevant. For Miguel, maybe. It really depends on what else we're doing. For Do or Die, which has a willpower, intellect, and agility icon, if this skill test is successful, choose a survivor asset or event in your discard pile and add it to your hand. It's relevant for him because this is another way to get those events back. So that's kind of neat. I probably should comment that this is just a little bit worse than the old resourceful card, which additionally had a combat icon on it and not a willpower. And that one also got skills back. So it's not as powerful, but I'm very surprised that it's here at level 0. Because you can recur the skill cards in other ways. We've seen Respite and, well, just Izzy in general. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I hope the designers know what they're doing here, because that card was really powerful. And I think this one is going to be very powerful as well. Now, some of the skill cards I think are, um, well, they're good, but there's some extremely good events here, and assets you might lose from asset hate just bring scrape buyback. Like, that seems just possible, right? Without needing to upgrade your Hunter's Instinct. Anyway, on the Brink, there was a level 2 version in the core set. This is level 0, and it has 1 icon. The old one had 2. If this test fails, return each card committed to it to test to the owner's hand. The level 2 version drew you a card. I just don't see it making the cut. Same comments I had that time. Like, you're envisioning you have a bunch of stuff that's committed. You could just play Unexpected Courage here, right? And even I've had a hard time fitting that in. Last 2 cards. Rough, level 1. It has a combat and a wild icon and some really funny art here. Silas beating up a deep one. It's a good piece of art. Pretty wacky. Anyway, for every 2 damage on you, rounded up, Rough gains a wild icon. Okay. Means that you round the number of damage up, I think, is the point. So if there's 1 damage on you, then you round that up to 2, so it gains 1 icon. So if you have 1 damage, this is already 2 wilds and a combat. Yeah, we can get some pretty good numbers here. There's a lot of healing in the deck, though, so like, how often is this going to be relevant? I think it's fine. Just, there's only 30 cards in the deck, and this doesn't do much. Unlike Timely Intervention, right? Like, if there's a choice between these, I don't know. I mean, I could see Daniela takes Rough. Anyway, Timely Intervention. This one is an upgrade from the level 0 that we saw in the core set. It has the exact same text box. The difference is, instead of wild, willpower, agility, it is 3 wilds. So it's good. It's not as good as Lucky level 3, but it's certainly good. And you can recur it using Izzy's ability. Yeah. So the big question is, like, how good is this compared to Scrape By, which is a level 1 card? I don't know. I think this is probably just this isn't as good as that, in the sense that maybe you have to run both. I don't know. Like, you can do some recursion stuff with this card that you couldn't with that one, but now you can do recursion stuff with that one that you can't do with this one. So I don't know. It's kind of a, this could have been level 2, but they probably didn't want Daniela or anyone else to take it. So I don't know. It's fine though. So we've reached the end. This is the last bit. I should just mention that we've seen everything. I don't care for the Survivor idea that there's nothing above level 3. We just saw the Mystic cards, right? Mystic has tons of stuff above level 3. It's so hard to afford all of that. And yeah, I guess I can include all of these cards, but the ceiling of your deck is going to be a little bit lower, and everyone who can take any red cards can take basically all of these cards, right? So you're looking at someone like Miguel, who shares the card pool with Daniela almost entirely. I don't think that's good design. I understand sort of the concept that, oh, well, they're really strong at level 0, and then they have harder time finding stuff to beat the Mythos when they have lots of XP, compared to Mystic, which is the opposite. But given that XP is still doled out at more or less the same rate we've seen before, it just is a little weird. I don't know. Even the Stella Clark deck had a level 4 card and a level 5 card. I think it was. I think Deja Vu was level 5. And there was a few more level 3 things that were pretty enticing. I'm surprised we didn't get a level 3 ally here. And the only level 3 cards I think we got were this starting card, the what's it called? The one with the fire extinguisher. Anyway, that one, steadfast, and no, not steadfast. Steady-headed, level-headed, level-headed. There we go. And then the meat cleaver in the core set, as well as the bomb here. Just don't. I think that this was an opportunity for them to change that concept. Doesn't mean that they need to be crazy with level 4 and 5 cards, but to get nothing out of the core and the starter deck. I mean, even in did we get a level 4 card in the original core? I don't think so. I think it was just the will to survive. But still, I just don't think they need to do that. And the level 3 cards aren't super exciting either. We had good cards in the Stella Clark deck at that level. We had uh, Chainsaw, level 4, Lucky, Quick Learner. There were some interesting things you could upgrade into. Granny Orn, level 3. Yeah, and that's just my take on this. I don't think they needed to do it, and I'm a little disappointed that they have stuck in that direction. Otherwise, I think this deck is interesting. There's a lot of interesting things here that seem playable, do some fun stuff. I really, having played the core, the new core, I see that this stuff is effective. And for people who are a bit like, why would I ever need to do that? Why would I want to attack something in a connecting location? I think there's more cases than you think. So I like that. I think he's a fun investigator to play, especially given you always have the extra action to play any event. So even in the future, we get something totally different with the events. You're always thinking, hey, Miguel can play this as if he were at a connecting location. Just give him an extra action to do it. Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. Well, that's it for the Evergreen Investigator decks. And that's it for all the cards in the card pool for another year. That's so weird to say. So please, please, please go play the new core set. I think it is interesting. It is fun. I'll have a full review of it sometime soon, but it is worth your time. And we're looking forward to the next campaign coming out in the summer too. That's all from me. I will wave goodbye. By the way, Daniel Jameson, cool ally because he's got a cool name. Bye. I almost forgot to say, how did we get through all 5 of the Evergreen decks and not get another thing to put in the head slot? What happened there? All we got was the 2 cards in the core set, the Fedora, which is not great, and the Mask of Salinas. Like, that's strange to introduce a new slot and then not use it over what is this? There's 32 cards or so in all 5 decks, right? So we're looking at 150 some odd cards or more. That's a little bizarre. I wonder what happened if this was like a late ad for the slot, but yeah, I don't know. I expected something, but I guess we didn't get it. We'll see it maybe in another set sometime soon. Little disappointed in that as well, but otherwise, I think they're pretty interesting cards, at least in these last couple. All right, now I'm done.